ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय।
Namaskaram. Today I am going to chant Canto 86, Kurukshetra War. Salvo Vaishmi Vivahe Yadubalavijitaschandrachudadhimanam Vindana Saubham Samaye Tvai Vasati Kurutsavatpurimabhyavangakshita Pradyupnasta Nirundat Nikila दुभट्टैरण्यग्रही दुर्ग्रवीर्यं तस्यामात्यं द्युमन्तं व्यजनीश्च समरः सप्तविंशत्यहान्तम्. The king of Salvas, an adept in magical warfare, who had been defeated by the Yadavas at the time of the abduction of Rukmini, got as a boon from Shiva an aerial car called Saubha. At the time when thou had gone to the Kuru country for the Rajasuya sacrifice, Salva attacked thy city of Dwaraka and was resisted by the Yadava army headed by Pradyumna, who killed Dyuman, the powerful minister of Salva. The battle with Salva lasted for 27 days. तावत्त्वं रामशाली त्वरितमुपगतः खण्डितप्रायसैन्यं सौभेशं तं निरुन्धाः स च किल गदया शार्ङ्गं म्रंशयते मायातातं व्यहिंसितभि तव पुरस्ततत्वयापि क्षणार्धं नाज्ञायित्यार्हुरेके तदिदमवमतं व्यास एव न्यषेधीत. Much of the invading army had been destroyed by Pradyumna and others when thou hurriedly arrived at Dwaraka along with Balarama and faced Salva, the master of aerial and magical warfare. Thereupon, Salva with a stroke of his mace knocked off the bow Saranga from thy hands, and besides in thy presence cut off the head of a likeness of thy father he had created by his magical powers. Some say that even though the master of Maya were for a moment deceived by this illusion, but the sage Vyasa has denied it in the Bhagavata. Shiptva saubham gadachu nitamudaka mankshu Salvepi Chakrenotkrite Dantavaktra Prasavamabhippadannabhyamunchadakadam te Kaumodakyahato Azavapi Sukrutanidhishchaitya Vatprapadakyam Sarveshamesha Purvam Tvai Drutamanasam Mokshanartho Vataraha. The aerial car of Saubha was smashed with a mace and thrown into the sea, and Salva's head was then cut off with thy discus Sudarshana, whereupon Dantavaktra, a close friend and associate of Shishupala, struck at thee with his mace. Dantavaktra was indeed fortunate in doing so, for he was killed by thee with thy mace Kaumodaki, and like Shishupala of Chedi and others killed by thee, attained union with thee. For lo, this incarnation of thine as Krishna was meant to give salvation to all who had bestowed their minds on thee in any relationship, be it of love, fear, or hatred. त्वयायाते यतजाते किल कुरु सदसि तुयूतके संयतायाः कन्दन्त्यायाज्ञसेन्या सकुर्णमकृताश्चेलमालामनन्ताम् अन्नान्तप्राप्तशर्वांश्च मुनिचकितद्रौपदी चिन्तितोऽथ प्राप्तः शाकानमश्च ननमुनिजनमकृतास्तृप्तिमन्तं वनान्ते. After thy return from Indraprastha, there took place a contest at dice between the Pandavas and Kauravas, in which, through foul play, the former were forced to pawn in all their possessions, including their wife Draupadi, whose modesty the Kurus thereupon attempted to outrage by stripping her of her clothes in the open assembly, in which situation Draupadi, wailing piteously, appealed to thee for help and was mercifully saved by thy endowing her with clothing of endless length. Further in the forest, when Draupadi, frightened by the prospect of imminent curse from Durvasa, who had arrived with his large retinue for food, when there was no more food to be served for the day, prayed to thee for help. Thou didst then appear in the forest and save her and the Pandavas from danger by eating a bit of boiled leaf left over, thereby satisfying the hunger of the sage and all his followers. युद्धोद्योगे यत मन्त्रे मिलति सति वृतः फल्गुनेन त्वमेकः कौरव्ये दत्तसैन्यः करिपुरमगमो दौत्यकृतपाण्डवार्तम भीष्मद्रोणादिमान्ये तव खलु वचने धिक्कृते कौरवेण व्यावृणवन विश्वरूपं मुनिसदसि पुरीं शोभयित्वा गतो अभूः. After the return of the Pandavas from the forest, when preparations for war and diplomatic moves were on, thou did agree to Arjuna's request to serve on the side of the Pandavas thyself, while lending all thy army to the Kauravas. Then, assuming the role of an emissary of the Pandavas, thou did go to Hastinapura, the capital of the Kauravas, with a formula for peace, which, though found acceptable by their wise men like Bhishma and Drona, was rejected by Duryodhana, whereupon thou did shake up the whole of Hastinapura by revealing thy awful cosmic form in that assembly attended by wise men. जिष्णुस्तवं कृष्णसूतः खलु समरमुखे बन्धुदाते दयालुं खिन्नं तं वीक्ष्य वीरं किमिदमयि सखे नित्य एकोऽयमात्मा को बध्यः को अत्र हन्ता तदिह वदभियं प्रोज्ञामयर्पितात्मा धर्म्यं युद्धं चरेति प्रकृतिमनयता दर्शयन विश्वरूपम्. O Krishna, in thy role as Arjuna's charioteer, on seeing that hero dejected on the battlefront from the thought of the evils of fratricidal war, thou didst say to him, O friend, the Atman is the eternal and all-comprehending one. Who then is the killed and who is the killer? Giving up, therefore, all vain fear about death and killing, surrender yourself to me and engage yourself in this righteous war. Advising Arjuna in this way, thou did reveal to him thy all-inclusive cosmic form and restore him to a balanced state of mind. भक्तोतं सेयत भीष्मे तव धरणी भरक्षीपकृत्यैकसक्ते नित्यं नित्यं विभिन्दत्वनिबृदयुतं प्राप्तसाधे च पार्थे निःशस्त्र त्वप्रतिज्ञां विजहदरिवरं धारयण क्रोधशाली वादावनप्राञ्जलिं तं नतशिरसमतो वीक्ष्य मोदाद्भागाः. As the war progressed, Bhishma, the greatest of thy devotees, was cooperating with thy mission of lightening the earth's burden by destroying more than 10,000 royal warriors daily. Arjuna, resisting him, fell unconscious in combat with him. Then, as if forgetting in anger thy vow not to touch any weapon in the war, and taking up thy discus Sudarshana, thou did rush at Bhishma to kill him, whereupon seeing him, Bhishma, receiving thee with head bent down in the prostration and hands held in salutation, thou did desist from the attack, overjoyed at the thought that thy devotees' vow had been fulfilled in preference to thine. युद्धे द्रोणस्य हस्तिस्थिररण पगदतेरितं वैष्णवास्त्रं वक्षस्यादतचक्रस्तगित रविमहाः प्राधर्यस्ति सिन्दूरराजम् नागास्ते कर्णमुक्ते क्षितिमवनमयन केवलं कृतमौलिं तत्रापि पार्थं किमिव नहि भवान् पाण्डवानामकार्षित. During the period of Drona's generalship, thou did attract to thy own chest the Vaishnava missile of Bhagadatta, who was fighting seated securely on the back of his four-tusked elephant. By hiding the sun with thy Sudarshana and creating artificial dusk, thou did enable Arjuna to kill Jayadratha, the king of Sindhu, who was mainly responsible for the treacherous slaughter of Abhimanyu. When Karma used the Naga missile at Arjuna, thou didst save him by lowering the earth by the pressure of thy toes, so that the missile severed only Arjuna's crown and not his head. If there anything that thou did not do to help the Pandavas in times of distress? युद्धादौ तीर्थगामी स खलु हलधरो नैमिषक्षेत्रमृच्छन् प्रत्युत्थायीसूतक्षय कृदत सूतं तत्पदे कल्पयित्वा यज्ञग्नं बल्वलं पर्वणि परिदलयन स्नाततीर्थोरणान्ते सम्प्राप्तो भीमदुर्योधनरणमशं वीक्ष्य जातः पुरीं ते. Balarama, who had started on a pilgrimage at the very commencement of the war, first went to the holy place called Naimisaranya, where he struck dead the Suta, who did not honor him by getting up at his approach, and installed the Suta's son in his stead. Then he destroyed an asura named Balavala, who used to disturb the sacrificial rites of the ascetics on every full moon and new moon day. Completing his visit to several other holy spots, he arrived in Kurukshetra towards the close of the war, and on seeing that the protracted combat between Bhima and Duryodhana was unending, returned to Dwaraka. Samsupta Drauptaya क्षपणहतदियं द्रौणिमेत्य तद्दुत्या तन्मुक्तं राम्यमस्त्रं संहृतविजयो मौलिरत्नं च जहरे उच्चित्ये पाण्डवानां पुनरपि च विशत्युत्त राघवर्मस्त्रे रक्षन्नङ्गकुष्ठमात्रः किल जठरमगा अश्चक्रपाणिर्विभोतम. The evil-minded Ashwathama, the son of Drona, murdered the sons of Draupadi who were fast asleep in their camp at the close of the war. In the morning, Arjuna went in pursuit of Ashwathama, but in the combat that followed, he retracted at thy command the Brahma missile hurled by Ashwathama and made him captive, but released him after clipping off his crest jewel as punishment. Ashwathama again released the Brahma missile, this time to destroy the fetus in the womb of Uttara, the daughter-in-law of the Pandavas, thus to extinguish the line of the Pandavas by destroying their only hope of progeny. But thou, O Lord, in order to protect the fetus, entered the womb of Uttara, assuming the size of a thumb and holding the Sudarshana in hand. धमौन्दं धर्मसूनोरभिदगर दखिलं छन्दमृत्युः स भीष्मस्तवां पश्यन् भक्तिभूम्नैव हि सपदि ययौ निष्कलब्रह्मभूयं संयाज्याथाश्वमेधै स्त्रीभिरतिमहिते धर्मजं पूर्णकामं सम्प्राप्तो द्वारकां त्वं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वरोगात्. After instructing Yudhishthira in all aspects of Dharma, Bhishma, who had the power of dying at will, ended his life in thy presence in a highly devotional mood and attained to the state of indivisible Brahma. Afterwards, in fulfillment of his highest aspiration, thou did enable Yudhishthira to perform 3 great Ashwamedha sacrifices and then return to the city of Dwaraka. May thou, O Lord of Guruvayur, who did accomplish all this, be pleased to save me from all my ailments. So the canto 86 is completed. I'll be back with the next canto in the coming week. Till then, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat.